It was supposed to be a quick fix. Her porch light kept shorting out. I'd offered to take a look, since she said the landlord was useless and I'd just installed the same model in my own place across the courtyard. That's how it started. She opened the door in a gray sweater, sleeves pushed up, hair tied back like she hadn't planned on seeing anyone. She always looked like that, effortless, like the world wasn't something she had to impress. "Be careful with the bottom step," she warned, nodding toward the sagging wood beneath me. "It lies about being safe." "Noted," I smirked, kneeling to open the fixture. "Is this where you confess to pushing past lovers off the porch?" Her mouth twitched. "Only the ones who thought they were clever." I didn't say anything after that, mostly because my hands were shaking a little and I didn't want her to see. She stood just inside the doorway as I worked. I could feel her watching, not heavy, not flirtatious, just present. It was strange. You don't realize how much people usually check their phones or fill silence with noise until someone doesn't. "You do this often?" she asked after a few minutes. "What, electrical work?" "No. Offering to help women who are clearly too old for you." She said it so casually, like it didn't matter, but something in her voice dipped, like she was trying to be cruel to herself before I had the chance. I looked up. "You're not that old." She raised a brow. "You didn't deny it." "I didn't say you needed help either." That was the first time she didn't look at me directly, just stared past me, like she just crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Her arms folded, tighter than before. "Anyway," she muttered, stepping back inside, "you're a good guy. You'll find someone." I should have let it go. That's the polite thing, right? You smile, nod, say thanks, and pretend like it didn't sting. Like she didn't just tuck you back into the boy box and seal the lid. But I didn't. I tightened the last screw, stood up, wiped my hands on my jeans, and said it before I could think better of it. "Everyone just wants to be loved." She didn't answer. She just stared, like she wasn't sure whether to laugh or slam the door. Then she stepped forward, slowly, barefoot, quiet. The hallway light cast soft shadows over her collarbone, her jaw tight. She stopped barely 2 feet from me, eyes flicking to my mouth and back up like it had betrayed her. Her voice was softer this time. "Don't say things like that." "Why not?" Her breath caught, and she whispered, "Because I believe you." And then she brushed past me, shoulder to shoulder, and closed the door behind her without a word. Porch light still flickering. I told myself I wasn't going to knock again, but I did. 3 days later. She needed help with the fuse box this time, her words, not mine. It wasn't an emergency. It wasn't even urgent. The lights flickered once during a thunderstorm and she called it spooky in a text. A single message. No emoji. Still, I was halfway across the courtyard before I even thought to grab my toolbox. The air inside her place smelled like old paper and fresh citrus. Curtains were open, soft jazz playing low like she hadn't expected company but didn't mind it. She wore glasses this time, reading something at the kitchen counter. "You sure this is the fuse box and not just an excuse to see me again?" I said. She didn't look up. "If it is, you should be flattered." But the way she said it, flat, distracted, didn't match the words. I followed her into the hallway closet where the breaker panel was. I crouched again, flicking switches. She hovered behind me, too close. I could smell shampoo, and something underneath that reminded me of lavender or tea leaves. "I left him last month," she said suddenly. I paused, one hand resting on the panel. "What?" "My husband. Or ex. He cheated. Years ago, technically. I just didn't want to admit it." I turned slightly, not all the way, just enough to catch her in my peripheral vision. "He said I was distant," she went on. "Cold. That I made him feel small." The breaker clicked into place. "You're not cold," I said. She laughed once, dry and fast. You don't even know me. I'm starting to. She looked down at her hands, thumb brushing the edge of her palm like she was wiping something off that wasn't there. Then, quieter. You're not supposed to say things like that. I know. We stood there, me crouched, her standing behind me, the silence pressing in so thick I could hear both of us breathing. Then her hand grazed my shoulder. Soft, barely there, like she hadn't meant to or like she meant everything by it. You can stay, she said, almost too quickly. If you want. I have tea. Or wine. I don't know what you drink. You probably don't even drink tea. I don't know why I said, tea's fine. I said, too fast. She nodded, already walking away, her back turned. But her steps slowed at the corner of the hallway, like she was waiting for something. Maybe me. Maybe a reason not to keep walking. And all I could think about, stupidly, was the tiny silver scar on her wrist I hadn't noticed before. Faint, but there. I followed her into the kitchen. She didn't look back, and I almost said her name out loud, just to see how it felt in my mouth when no one else was around. I wasn't supposed to still be there when the rain started. The tea went cold. We talked about nothing. Books neither of us finished, a movie she walked out of in college, how she hated silence and yet somehow her apartment was always quiet. It should have been easy to leave, but it wasn't. I sat across from her at the small kitchen table, hands cupped around the mug, watching her twist her ringless finger around itself like the ghost of the marriage still lingered there. I used to be so sure, she said softly. About what? Everything. Her eyes were red-rimmed, not from crying, not yet. Just that raw, thin edge people get when they're tired of pretending they're fine. I'm not trying to make this weird, I said. She smiled. It already is. I nodded, staring down into my untouched tea. I forget how young you are sometimes, she added after a beat. That stung more than it should have. I wanted to say I forget how sad you look when you're pretending not to be lonely. Instead, I laughed. I forget how old I'm supposed to feel when you say things like that. She reached out, brushing her fingers against mine. The contact was light, unthinking, but neither of us moved. Then a knock at the door. She jolted, her hand pulling back like she'd been caught doing something wrong. I didn't know whether to stand, stay seated, or disappear into the floor. She glanced toward the door, then at me. Don't move. I didn't. Muffled voices. A woman's. Something about a package, wrong address. She shut the door quickly, slower returning to the kitchen, brushing hair from her eyes like it was suddenly in the way. We shouldn't, she started. I know, I said, but neither of us finished the sentence. She sat down again, not across from me this time, but beside, closer than before. Her leg brushed mine under the table. You remind me of who I was before everything got. She trailed off. What? Dull. A pause. I'm not trying to rescue you, I whispered. I don't want to be rescued. More silence. Longer this time. Her hand rested on the table, open. Waiting or unaware, I couldn't tell. I looked at it, then at her, and the only thought in my head was, don't do this. I didn't touch her, but I didn't leave. She turned to face me fully now, and for a moment we just breathed the same space. Then she whispered, tell me what you're thinking. And I almost did. Almost said too much. Almost crossed something invisible we couldn't come back from. But instead, I said, I don't think I can do this halfway. She didn't answer. She just leaned in slowly, not kissing me. Not yet, but close enough that I could feel it. If you kiss me, it changes everything, she said. Her voice was quiet, controlled, but her hand was still on the table, still open, and that said more than her words ever could. I didn't answer, couldn't. My chest was too tight, like the room had shrunk around us, and suddenly all I could hear was the clink of the rain against her window and the sound of my own heartbeat in my throat. She looked at me like she wanted me to say it. Wanted me to be stupid, brave, young. Instead, I said, "Why do you keep letting me come here?" She blinked. "Because I want to." "That's not a reason." "Yes, it is." I leaned back, ran a hand through my hair. My fingers were shaking again. Not because of nerves, but because it felt like standing at the edge of something irreversible. "You know this isn't just some crush," I muttered. She nodded, slowly. "I know. And I'm not just some kid who's into older women or whatever fantasy you think I'm playing out. I know that too." "Then what are we doing?" That landed. She looked away, not evasively, but like she couldn't bear to look directly at whatever this was. "I didn't expect to feel anything," she said finally. "Not with you. Not with anyone. Not after." She trailed off, bit her lip. "You make it hard to stay numb." Something in me cracked. I pushed my chair back, stood up, paced like I could somehow shake the feeling out of my limbs. "This doesn't feel wrong to me," I said. "It feels like the first thing that isn't fake. I've never had that before. Never." I stopped myself. She stood too, slowly. "You think I don't feel the same?" I looked at her. Her face was soft now. No masks, no sarcasm. Just this quiet ache in her eyes that made my chest hurt. "I think you're scared," I said. "And you're not." I almost laughed. "I'm terrified." She stepped closer. Close enough that the air between us buzzed again. Then she whispered, "Tell me something no one else knows." I swallowed hard, looked her dead in the eyes. "When I walk away from you, I feel sick for hours." That stopped her. "I tell myself I imagined all this," I continued, "that I misread everything, that you're just being kind. But I'm not that naive." Silence. She reached up, gently, fingers brushing my jaw, trembling. "I haven't been touched like this in years," she said. "Not like someone means it." I leaned in, forehead resting against hers, the space between our mouths almost nothing. Neither of us moved. Not forward, not away. Then she whispered, "If we do this, you'll break me." And I whispered back, "If we don't, it'll break me." And neither of us said a word after that. Just breath and silence. The next morning I found the letter, slipped under my door. No envelope, no signature, just folded, sharp-edged, with my name written in her handwriting. The one that always looked half-rushed, half-regretful. I read it twice before I sat down. Then I read it again. "I've known who you were longer than you think. 3 years ago, I saw you. You were with your mom at the hospital. She was in recovery, crying quietly, trying to hide it. You were holding her hand. I was 2 beds down, alone, after my first separation. You didn't see me, but I saw you. You smiled at her like it wasn't the worst day of her life, like that smile was the only thing keeping her above water. I remember thinking, that boy's going to ruin someone, or save them. I didn't think it would be me." I stared at the paper for so long I forgot I was still in my hoodie and socks, sitting on the floor like the walls might start talking if I didn't move. I'd always wondered why she looked at me like that, like she was remembering something she wasn't supposed to. I folded the letter and stood. Her door was already open when I got there, half-cracked, like she'd been waiting. She was sitting on the edge of the couch, elbows on knees, hair unbrushed. No makeup, no smile, just raw. "You read it?" she asked. "Yeah." She nodded like that hurt more than it helped. "I wasn't stalking you or anything. I didn't even recognize you at first when you moved in. But when I did, I couldn't unsee it." I stepped inside, closed the door behind me. "You should have told me," I said, but it came out softer than I meant it to. She looked up. "Would it have changed anything?" "I don't know," I said, "but it would have made this feel less like like I was imagining all of it. You weren't. I sat across from her. Not beside her this time. Not yet. I kept telling myself you were just being kind, I said. And every time you pulled back, I thought, of course she doesn't feel the same. Why would she? I pulled back because I do feel the same. Her voice cracked. First time I'd heard it. And it scares the hell out of me. Silence. Thick and warm. She reached for something, a photo on the side table. Handed it to me. It was of her and her ex younger. Lighter. But her eyes were distant even then. He never looked at me the way you do, she whispered. Even when we were happy. My throat burned. I set the photo down. And then, without thinking, I moved beside her. Our knees touched. She didn't pull away. Then she asked, almost inaudibly, "Do you still want me now that you know?" I looked at her and said, "I think I always did. This doesn't feel fair," she said, staring at her own hands. "Not to you." We were on her couch again, hours after the letter. No rain this time, just the soft tick of the wall clock and the distant hum of a neighbor's vacuum. "I'm not asking for fair," I said. "I'm asking for honest." She looked up, eyes rimmed pink but dry. There was something raw in her expression now. Not guarded, not defensive, just tired of pretending. "I don't know how to love someone right anymore," she whispered. "I unlearned it. I stopped needing it. Or I thought I did. And then you showed up." I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, voice low. "You don't have to love me perfectly. That's not what I mean." She swallowed. "You deserve someone who can give you more than this. More than me trying to remember how not to flinch when someone wants to stay." I didn't respond right away. I needed the silence. I needed to hear the weight of it, feel how close we were to falling apart again. Then I said, "You know when I realized I was in love with you? That word, love. It hung there like a match about to drop." She froze, slowly turned to me. "You think this is love?" "No," I said. "I know it is. Because even when I tell myself to walk away, I can't. Because I notice the way you hold your breath when you open up. Because every time you talk yourself out of being wanted, it makes me want you more." She covered her mouth with her hand, like she was trying to stop something from spilling out. I didn't move closer this time. I didn't reach for her. I just let the silence stretch. "I don't want to be someone you look back on and regret," she finally said. "A mistake you had to learn from." I shook my head. "You're not a lesson. You're it. The real thing. Messy. Complicated. And all I've ever wanted is for someone to see me like you do." Her hand dropped. Her eyes searched mine, scanning for the cracks, the youth, the possible lies I might not even know I'm telling. Then she whispered, "Okay, okay." She nodded slowly. "Stay. Don't fix anything. Don't try to save me. Just stay." I exhaled, longer than I'd realized I was holding it. And I reached out not to kiss her, but to hold her hand. This time she took it, tight, like it mattered. We never really defined it. There wasn't a dramatic kiss in the rain. No airport goodbye. No declarations shouted across rooms. Just slow mornings, quiet nights, 2 mugs on the counter instead of 1. Weeks passed, then months, and somehow the world didn't fall apart. She still pulled away sometimes, flinched at closeness, said, "I'm fine," when she wasn't. But she let me see it, the cracks, the softness underneath the armor. And me? I stopped trying to prove I wasn't too young. I stopped trying to impress her. Somewhere along the way, it stopped feeling like I was chasing something. It just became us. I remember one night in particular, late spring. We were lying on her couch, a movie playing low but neither of us watching. She had her head on my chest, tracing a shape on my forearm. Slow, rhythmic, like she was grounding herself. She said, You're not what I expected. I asked her what she had expected. A phase, she said. A mistake I'd make in secret and regret in silence. I didn't say anything. Then she added, but you're the first thing that made me want to risk being known again. I kissed the top of her head. Said nothing. That felt like enough. Looking back now, it wasn't a fairy tale. But it was real. We built something not out of passion or perfection, but out of honesty. Out of showing up even when it was uncomfortable. That porch light still flickers sometimes. We laugh about it now. Neither of us wants it fixed. It reminds us where we started. Here's what I learned. Sometimes love doesn't knock. It waits. In silence. In eye contact too long to be polite. In unfinished sentences. And sometimes the person you're afraid to ruin is the one who saves you. Not with grand gestures, but with presence. With staying. What did you feel when they almost crossed the line? What would you have done in their place? Let me know in the comments below. And tell me, do you want more slow burn love? More stories about broken people finding each other? More unexpected connections that feel a little too real? I'm listening. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there is waiting to be seen too.